Okay, so you guys asked for it, and we are diving deep into it. Gemini on Gemini action, specifically the romantic kind.
Yeah.
Ready to see what happens when the Zodiac's twins decide to pair up.
Oh, it's definitely one of the more, intriguing combinations out there. We get a lot of questions about Geminis and how they mesh with other signs, but two Geminis together, that's a whole different dynamic to unpack.
It
Yeah.
really is. It's like they say in the source material we've got, the mental image for these two getting intimate is like two people with split personalities trying to have sex by banging their heads together and talking at the same time.
Uh,
I mean, you kind of got to laugh, right?
you do. And like a lot of astrology-based humor, I think it holds a grain of truth to it. Geminis are ruled by Mercury, right? The planet of communication, the mind. They analyze everything. So applying that to intimacy, let's just say that sometimes feeling it out might take a back seat to overthinking it. Yeah.
Makes you wonder what their search history looks like.
Yeah.
The source actually calls Geminis information gatherers when it comes to sex, which, knowing a few Geminis myself, I got to say, tracks.
It does, it does. And that tendency, that ties into Gemini being an air sign. And, in astrology, each element, and there's four, fire, earth, air, and water, each of those elements has certain vibes. Air signs, in this case, Gemini, are known for their intellect, their way with words, their love of new ideas. So naturally, that curiosity extends to intimacy, too. It's just that translating all that knowledge they gather into, shall we say, a more hands-on experience, that's key.
And maybe doing it somewhere unexpected, because our source also drops this gem. Trains, airplane restrooms, basically any moving vehicle is fair game for these two. I'm getting very much a live, fast, die young kind of energy here, wouldn't you say?
More like life's too short for boring, That restless energy that's central to the Gemini nature. They need novelty, they need mental stimulation, adventure. It's like their oxygen.
Which, when we're talking relationships, that brings up the big T word, trust. The source mentions that Geminis might not see unwavering loyalty as the be-all and end-all in a partner, because they get that their partner, being a twinsy themselves, is probably going to be a little flighty too.
It's a fascinating paradox, really. Their own need for freedom makes them more accepting of a partner who's, the same way. But can that really create a stable foundation? It's something to think about.
And on top of that, imagine the conversations. The source describes communication between two Geminis as nonstop, like having 5 different dialogues happening all at once, stimulating or headache-inducing. What do you think?
It's definitely a lot of mental gymnastics, that's for sure. I think the question becomes, can they go beyond all the witty banter and the surface level stuff and truly connect on an emotional level? That's where things get really interesting with this pairing, I think.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We tend to, associate air signs with, well, airiness, light, breezy, not always the most grounded, right? But emotions, those are very earth-based. They need something to root into.
So how do two Geminis even navigate that then? Because our source material does paint this picture of them, like always being on the go, new experiences every minute, museums, concerts, you name it, they're doing it together.
Which, yeah, on the surface sounds very Gemini. They thrive on that novelty and that newness. But, I mean, there's a difference between, shared experiences and genuine emotional intimacy, right? That's what I'm wondering, yeah. Is all that excitement maybe just a way to avoid going deeper? Like if the merry-go-round never stops, they don't actually ever have to, like, look at what might be missing?
It's a possibility. I mean, our source material doesn't explicitly say that, but it does mention that Geminis often seek out partners who can provide that grounding. Someone to, like, handle, even enjoy their whirlwind nature while offering, at least a little bit of stability.
Which has me thinking, can two Geminis, both craving all that freedom, can they actually provide that grounding for each other? Or are we talking about, like, a fling to end all flings? Fun while it lasts, but ultimately not sustainable.
I don't think it's so black and white. Remember, astrology gives us, like, tendencies, not destinies. There are definitely Geminis out there who have made it work long term.
So what's their secret? Because the source doesn't really dive into that.
It does touch on the importance of communication, which we've already, established is huge for Geminis. But here's where it gets a little more nuanced. Most signs also have a particular style of communication, too. Think about it. A fiery argument with an Aries is a lot different from, say, a water sign like Cancer, who might internalize things more.
Okay, so how does that apply to two Geminis, like going head to head.
Well, think about the ruling planet again, Mercury. It's quick, it's logical, it's all about exchanging information. So for a Gemini, arguments might not be about like winning so much as just getting their points across, maybe even like enjoying the debate itself.
Which honestly sounds kind of refreshing. But could that also lead to them, like, glossing over the deeper emotional stuff? Like, if you're always in debate mode, are you really truly being vulnerable?
That's the balancing act. And it's something, honestly, that anyone in a relationship, not just Geminis, can probably relate to. How do you honor both people's needs? For independence, for connection, for, intellectual stimulation, but also for that heart-to-heart stuff.
Yeah, it's like, it's that whole thing, right? Can't live with them, can't live without them. But in this case, it's more like, can't pin them down, but also maybe don't want to.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is. It is a lot. And I think it speaks to that, that essential tension that I think we all kind of face in relationships, right? How much of ourselves do we compromise and how much do we need to just stay true to who we are, even if it, ruffles some feathers along the way. And with Geminis, especially two of them together that need to just be their own person, it's extra strong.
Which, based on everything we've talked about from this source material, goes right back to that air element again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're thinking about, like, grounding as this stable, rooted thing. Well, air, by its very nature, it isn't grounded. It's all about, movement, change, new perspectives.
Exactly. And that's not inherently a bad thing at all. In fact, that can really be the magic of a Gemini pairing. They challenge each other intellectually, they push each other out of their comfort zones. There's like a constant sense of discovery.
Sounds exhausting and exhilarating all at the same time, honestly. But I do keep coming back to that listener question from the beginning, can it last? Our source, to be honest, wasn't super clear on that. More focused on, like, the what of this pairing than the how to make it work part.
True. And I think that's where, astrology can maybe only take us so far. It gives us clues, it gives us insights into, like, potential strengths and weaknesses. But ultimately, the success of any relationship, Gemini or otherwise, comes down to the people in it.
Their willingness to put in the work, to actually, truly meet each other's needs, all that good stuff.
Precisely. And I think in the case of our Gemini duo, that might mean, finding ways to honor each other's need for independence while also cultivating, a deeper emotional connection.
So for our listener who requested this whole deep dive, and anyone else out there who might be, you know, navigating the thrilling and, let's be real, occasionally tumultuous waters of a Gemini romance, there you have it. Maybe instead of like a black and white answer, a better question is, what are you both willing to do to make this connection, truly sing?
Because like any good duet, it really does take two voices, each one distinct and beautiful in their own right to create something truly harmonious.
And on that lovely note, we'll sign off for today. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open.